Honestly, friends, I feel like February low-key broke me a bit. It definitely humbled me. It broke my momentum with a few things. It broke my confidence a little bit. And it was just a very emotionally turbulent month. At the same time, it gave me hella clarity, a lot of time for reflection and thinking on what's important to me now. Hi friend, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I am Dr. Quindle Jones, but I go by Dr. Quinn, and I generally talk about designing a life that makes me feel good using my systems expertise. I believe that life is a dynamical system, which is to say that the things we input into ourselves, the routines, the things we consume, the things we focus on and believe in have a tangible effects on ourselves and our outcomes, and therefore being more intentional about what we do and what we think can make positive changes in the outcomes in our lives, in our success and our happiness. So I'm optimizing my life to make sure that it feels aligned with what I truly desire, and less so about being the most productive person, even though productivity does make me feel good. So I talk a lot about these systems, about my productivity, about my habits, about my mindset, and I'm excited to check in with you for March and February, because now that I've actually done the calculations for February, I'm shocked at the numbers because it felt nothing like the numbers, and that's kind of the positive of numbers sometimes, that they can really illuminate things that otherwise we wouldn't even be able to recognize. So I actually use the same 5-step framework to reset every single month, quarter, year, and I have essays on it on my Substack, The Productive PhD, and this is what I'll be using going forward. It'll likely be repetitive, but because every month has new results, it's always fun to check in with you and with me. So I'll be going over each step as I do it instead of talking too much up front. So let's just get right into it with step number 1, the February review. So there are about 4 things we need to review for February to get a comprehensive look at the month. First, we're going to review my goals for the month and see how I measured up to those explicitly, and then flipping through my bullet journal to see how my February spreads came out. And then we have to do a quantitative review of February, looking at both my weekly habit adherence and then my individual adherence to the habits I'm trying to build. I think, even though I do have, I can show you, so I'm gonna do the flip through after this, but so I do have my February goals written in my bullet journal for my everyday looking and analysis, but I am going to actually refer to them in my Notion because I have a monthly goals planner in Notion that I essentially copy paste every month and customize based on my lifestyle areas. So I'm going to pull up my tablet to go over these. I've broken up my February goals into categories because that's just how I think of things, and I have several identities that buoy my habits, and so that's kind of how we're going to go over it in a list of about 8 different priorities. So first section would have to be my fitness and wellness goals. So I initially wanted to reach an 11,000 step average for the month, which means generally I want to hit 11,000 steps a day, but I look at averages as far as setting the goal. So my monthly average was very close to 11,000. I got 10,808 steps average for February, and what kept me back from this was week 3 of the month last week, where I did not get 11,000 average, and so that brought me down those 200 from my goal. So super close. I also aim to work out 5 days a week of the 7 days in a week for strength training, which is to go to the gym. And I have done that out of the 20 days in this month that I will be working out. 19 of those days, I only missed 1 arm day, and that was because I was being social. I went out to do something and I was like, wow, I don't have time to do both, and that is a-okay, and it was a really great time. So I'm very proud of that. And then I wanted to sleep for 7 hours average, because that has turned out to be one of my most important habits for staying consistent with anything. And this month, my monthly average was 7 hours and 20 minutes. Freaking killing these fitness goals, okay? Either super close or hitting it out the park. And then I have been trying to prioritize a weekly long walk, which is to say walking more than 2 miles in one session every single week. And I got 3 out of the 4 weeks doing my weekly long walk. I missed it that same week. I missed the gym that one day. So trying to balance being a bit more social into my life again, and so that has impacted my schedule. But otherwise, these are really, really excellent fitness results. So I'm very proud of that. And then I have my identity as an author slash writer. I recently decided to start working on my very first or debut novel titled The Forbidden Photo. It's a speculative dystopian novel where photos can come to life, and my main character's life is upended when one of hers does indeed activate. And so I wanted to this month continue my weekly creative exercise where every week I write something not in the novel that practices my creative writing skills. And I actually missed that every single week in February, so I did not do the creative exercise, but I did make progress on these goals, and there will be a vlog upcoming about that, but we'll talk about that later. I also wanted to practice my cursive writing in my journal every single day, so that's 28 days, and I only did that 19 out of the 28. Once I got to the anniversary of my niece's death, I was just kind of unwilling to get too into the journaling and thinking about my emotions. I could not do it. So I missed about half of this, but I did my very best up until that time. I also, as far as my writing goals, wanted to finish drafting chapter 1, finish drafting chapter 2, and turn my second act into scenes. And I've done the second act into scenes, and I technically, I guess, drafted chapter 2. My chapter 2 is now my chapter 1, or reverse. It's all in a vlog, we'll talk about later, but I have done more writing. I ended last month on around 6,000 or 7,000 words, and I'm currently at over 10,000 in my manuscript. So killing it with the novel, way more. I've actually done the scenes all the way through the book, so I'm just really in prose writing mode now going forward. So very happy with my writing goals as well. Outside of being a writer, I am also a mathematical scientist and I am a content creator. So I have goals for each of those. As a mathematical scientist, I wanted to submit at least 12 job applications because I am on the hunt for a job. My contract ends in July of this year, and so I need a new gig, and I did indeed submit 12. I also wanted to network and email at least 3 to 6 people, and I did do that as well. And that led me to some informational interviews, and it was just very helpful. I also did a panelist event this past Wednesday, or technically it was more so a presentation where I shared with some pre-med, pre-health students about my journey towards medicine, and I was able to give my kind of unconventional road towards medicine as a mathematician, and that was a lot of fun. And then I did a presentation in UF's math department sharing my work, where I talked about using mathematical mechanistic models as hypotheses in order to aid in experimental training and workflows. And it went well. It was indeed a controversial take, but I was really proud to finally share the work with someone or someone's outside of my department, so that was very exciting for me. And then I wanted to finalize my paper, but instead of actually finalizing it, I had to finalize the logistic schedule for it. There were so many changes. I got new data, I had to add new compartments and parameters, and so it was not possible for me to finish everything this month, but I was able to take everything that has been added and write out every single task associated with it, and then I've scheduled it in my Notion to be done by April 15th. So it should be done not in March but in April. So I think what I can check off here is just actually organizing those thoughts and making a plan to stick to, because when it comes to this kind of self-managed work, it's imperative to stay on track of, because no one is going to micromanage me, thank God, but it does mean that I have to. Right. I am also a content creator, media creator. Feels more aligned with how I've been feeling these days, but I create media online for YouTube and Instagram. I've kind of abandoned Instagram this month. It has been the lowest of low priorities. And I also have screen time limits on my phone. And so I'm not as on it as much as I used to be. Like I have it closed until 9 a.m. and then I have it closed after 6 p.m. and I work from 9 to 5. So I have maybe 2 hours of like conscious access to my social media apps, and that has helped with my focus in other areas, but it has also meant that I've not been like prioritizing posting to Instagram like I used to. I used to be a story girl. I would like to still be, but I'm not so much currently, right? Yeah. And then as far as creating content for YouTube, I posted every single week in February. I don't know that they performed well compared to my usual numbers. I usually get around 300 to 500 views on my videos in the past year, but my February videos had very low engagement, low amount of comments, and less than 200 views for most of them, I'm pretty sure. So that could be because I introduced the writing and reading vlogs, which are not typical of my channel. I used to do more fitness and productivity stuff, but we're going to talk later about why I'm actually intentionally moving away from that. So it's kind of fine that my views have been down, but I've been enjoying the content I'm making a lot more. So is what it is. I also am a media creator for written work. So I have my Substack, The Productive PhD, and there I've been aiming to post every single Wednesday. And in February, I did a love series where I was breaking down the emotional physics of modern relationships, starting with how I feel about love and safety as imperative. And then I had an essay titled Men Don't Have Friends and It's Killing Women, unpacking the patriarchal emotional labor women are expected to perform. I also wrote an essay titled Dating Down and the Double Burden, off of my experiences as a high-achieving woman and watching other high-achieving women date #bums or people that make less than them, and how that actually made me at least feel used and taken advantage of more than it made me feel powerful in the way people say it does, or at least I expected it to. And then the last essay from this past week was on how I actually move currently as a relationship anarchist, and why I think we should move beyond the nuclear family and the couple unit as the ideal relationship standard and priority in our lives. So just a whole series breaking down my thoughts about relationships and love. I think the best performing one was the Men Don't Have Friends essay, and the least performing one was the relationship anarchy so far. Might have just been fatigue or what, but I enjoyed writing all of these, and I'm very proud of them that, you know, people can find them whenever they need them, so that makes me happy. My next section of goals have to do with my reading and consumption, and my goals there were to finish The 10,000 Doors of January, which is in my bookcase, so I'm not going to go get it, but I did finish it. I recently released a vlog where I challenged myself to finish it by the start of February, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It had a beautiful theme and message, and it gave me inspiration for my novel, and it was just a really good book. I would read other works by the author, Alex Harrow, so I recommend to anyone who has thought about reading it or has seen it before. And then another goal was to start reading The Library of the Unwritten. It's a book about all of the unwritten books people have thought of, and they reside in the library in hell. And it has been a very interesting read thus far. And I'm currently on page 127 out of about 350. I am hoping to finish this at the start of March, because we're going to talk about the next book I want to read in my March goals in a later section. So those are my reading goals for this month. So I met one, and I guess I met them both since I have started it, and I have made progress every single week, more than 20 pages. So I'm proud of that. My finance goals for the month were to save $200 and to pay $200 on my credit card. I did neither again, bought more again. So still working on that financial literacy and control in 2026. And then my last couple goals were about hosting my weekly accountability group, WPP, and hosting my book club. My book club was this morning before filming this, and I hosted all but 1 week of WPP. So I think that was also a success. Moving into the bullet journal flip through, I really enjoyed the pink and blue vibes I really went with for February. I have my goals here on the front monthly spread page that I actually did refer to, but I didn't refer to this weekly one, but I will continue to set it up because I love it so much. I did also do an inbox and a weekly reset. Both pages I'm pretty sure I won't be repeating in my March bullet journal setup, but I will of course reuse my 1 line a day and my habit tracker spreads. As you can see, and we went over those habits at the bottom, not good. I also added this month newly a story tracker and a cardio fitness tracker. So I love those as new habits to be mindful of. And then we're into the weeklies. I've been doing this weekly cover and then daily spreads afterward. And I was having a bit more issues with time management, so I did less detailed dailies while still doing the weekly cover page. But then I just got kind of overwhelmed with it, and as you can see, I didn't use the time tracking much at all. So after this week, I decided to adjust my plan with what I was doing with it, and I still tried to hold on to the weekly cover because I love the trackers on the front, but then I went to an even less used page for the dailies. And so I got real sparse with the setup for the final week because I knew I wasn't going to use it much. And now we've made it to the March setup, empty pages to fill in. Very excited. Now that we finished the bullet journal flip through, we can get into the next analysis of my habits, starting with the weekly habit analysis and then moving into the habits. So I track my habits every single week, and I've been posting my Q's weekly review, which is my public habit tracker, for the last 3 years now here on this YouTube channel on the community tab. And it's one of my favorite things ever, and is a cornerstone of the We're Productive People Club, my accountability group where others join me in this ritual of resetting together every single week, tracking our habits every single week, and creating their own individual report cards of their goals. Like, they don't copy my goals, they have their own and whatever they're tracking. And we share our updates in our Discord, and we come together to review our weeks on Zoom every Sunday. And it's just my favorite thing in the world, us holding each other accountable and giving each other positivity and having a space to talk about our goals. Because as much as, I don't know, we all like to think our friendships help us with our goals, and they don't always. It's not always about specifically what we're working on. It's more so about our feelings and our transformations. And so I found it very helpful for myself and for others to have a dedicated space to talk about what it is I'm working on, what it is I want to be better at, and having other people to hold you to that in a graceful way and not in a minding my business bullying kind of way that often can show up in other relationships. So I absolutely love it. It is a cornerstone habit of mine, so I like to go through the weekly grades first. And the way it's calculated is I have a set number of habits. I track it for maybe 5 days of the week, 7 days of the week, and that gives me a percentage of how well I met that goal. If I got it 5 out of 7 days, then I met that goal 71% of the time for that goal. And so for everything I'm tracking each week, I average those, and that gives me my weekly score. How did I show up for my cornerstone habits every single week? And I share that in Q's weekly review. So in February, I started the month with a 71%, a C for the month, which, considering that January was full of F's, I am very proud of this, that I have had C's this month. What an improvement. Started from the bottom, now we're here. All right, I started with a 71, and then the following week I improved up to a 76. So still a C, but a 5% increase. And all improvement is improvement. It does not have to be a grade jump or some significant thing. Going 1% better than last week is a win. It's always a win. So going up 5%, cheers. For week 3, I went down 2%, expectedly. The 3rd week of this month was also, as I said, the anniversary of my niece's death. She's now been gone from us for a full year now as of February 17th, and I was in the third week, so I went down to 69%. And I gave the most bare minimum I've given to anything in the world to my whole life that week. So the fact that I got 69% is honestly impressive. I thought it would be worse. I did. And then this past week, including today, assuming I adhere to everything as I plan to, I will get a 91%. But this is because I have evaluated my goals after that week of bare minimum. I had some moments where I was just like, what do I actually want to track and why? And what's most aligned with what I'm trying to improve my identities around? I'm trying to improve my identities around self-care, writing, reading, connecting, those kind of things. And fitness is always like non-negotiable in my life now. So I've updated what I'm tracking before counting this week. And so this week is kind of a newer batch of habits. I only changed one, so not totally new, but I updated my goals, and this week I got a 91. See what happens when I just have been editing from January and February. They were fully just investigative weeks, and now I feel like the habits I've stuck to, I got the 91 on this month. I want to make sure I can adhere to that for the rest of March. Can I stay in the 90s for March? Let's see. So that means for February, my weekly adherence gives me a 77% adherence weekly average. So I've given about a C effort every single week towards my habits this month of February. Considering, like I said, last month it was a 57F. That's 2 letter grades of improvement in my weekly showing up, just in how I show up week to week. So very proud of that, because it did not feel like it. It did not feel like it. I think the recency bias of all of the sadness has made February, in my mind, be like, oh, this was a shitty month. But looking at these numbers, it's like, oh, even though it was emotionally shitty, I showed up better and more aligned than I did in January, which is all I ever really asked for. So let's also look at the habits one by one. So that's just looking at how the weeks show up, whether no care about those habits in particular, but I do track the habits particularly in my bullet journal, and that's more than just what I'm sharing online. Like, I'm only sharing 6 or so on my weekly review, because otherwise it'd be huge. But in my journal, as you saw in the flip through, I have a giant grid where I'm tracking 10 habits every single month. And I even added to that list from last month, from saying like what I wasn't doing at all. Is that still a priority? If it is, I'll keep tracking. If it's not, it is removed. And so I have 10 habits from February, and let's see how I did on those. So for each habit, I have it here on my phone. I wanted to get 7 hours of sleep every single night. So out of the 28 days in February, I met that goal 24 days, meaning I adhered to 7 hours of sleep 86% of the time. Love to see it. That is a B level effort for getting adequate sleep. Very important for quality of life. I also have been prioritizing my daily skincare, and I achieved that of the 28 days in February. 27, missing only 1, meaning I adhered to my skincare routine 97% of the time in February. And A, babe, let's go. This is already turning out fabulously. My next goal for February was to start practicing writing at least 30 minutes a day, and I have broadened what that means. It does not necessarily mean actually in my manuscript 30 minutes a day, though I have tried to be relatively close to that. It actually just means a gradient of story-related work on my novel. So if I'm outlining, I'm filling in the box. If I'm working on my characters or I'm zero drafting, I'm filling in the box. If I'm writing prose, I'm filling in the box. So I have a list of things that count as writing for me, and that is what I assigned to 30 minutes daily. And in February, I did it out of the 28 days, 20 of the 28, giving me a 71% adherence to my writing ritual in February. Considering that this is a new standard for me, I'm very happy that this is kind of my baseline C-level effort starting here in February. I'm excited to see how this carries throughout the year and how much progress I'm able to make with my novel because of it. I also am aiming to train, as I said before, 5 days a week, meaning out of the 20 days in February to train, I met that 19 times, giving me a 95% adherence. Another A for a habit. Wow, some of these are going really well. So then I have my movement goals, in my like nutrition related. I have 80 ounces of water as a daily goal minimum. Always more is better, but 80 minimum. And of the 28 days in this month, I met this goal 21 days, giving me a 75% adherence to meeting my water goal. I also am aiming to eat at least 90 grams of protein every single day. Last year was 100, but I was not meeting that bar, so I lowered it just a little bit. And this month I met that goal 27 of the 28 days, giving me a 96% adherence to my protein goal. Shout out to the Chobani yogurt shakes, and also to yogurt and salmon. Been living off those a lot this month. As far as movement, I'm aiming to get 11,000 steps every single day to improve my average. Last year, my yearly average for my steps was 10,800. So I want my 2026 average to be 11,000. So I have a daily goal of 11,000 steps. And in February, I had one day where my ankle was killing me. So I'm not counting out of 28, I'm only counting out of 27. I gave myself a day off because it just felt like I would harm myself if I tried to meet my goal that day. So of the 27 days I intended to meet this goal, I met it 22 days, giving me an 82% adherence to my step goal. Love this for me. And then for also movement, I'm trying to get better about incorporating zone 2 into my life, which is to say getting my heart rate above a certain level, which is known to do a lot of positive things for your cardiovascular health and a bunch of other things. And so I'm trying to improve that. And last month I barely did it, like 3 days. This month I did it 7 days. Hello, improvement, giving me a 25% adherence to zone 2. So if I can maybe in the next month do an extra day, like I said, one bit more is always welcome with me. And then for my evening goals, I aimed to do my nightly journaling. It's called the Daily Column, every single night. And I did it once in February, giving me a 3% adherence to my evening journaling. Morning journaling, fire. Evening, not so much. Similarly, I've been trying to go to bed at a certain time, and I have hit that goal only 7 days out of the 28, giving me a 25% adherence to my bedtime. Yet I have been getting 7 hours sleep. So because of that, I think I'm just gonna give up kind of on the bedtime for now, because I'm still getting an accurate amount of sleep, but I'm still able to write and read and all these other things in my day, and not going to bed at a certain time is just making me feel guilty about it. And maybe if I try to just hit these goals maybe quicker in the day, it'll be easier for me. So these are the kind of reflections that help me adjust the habits and understand like why I'm doing them and if I should try harder or let them go. And I think that's when I'm gonna let go. But so those are all of the habits, the 10 for February that I tracked. And to get a habit average for February, I add together every single percentage of those 10 habits to give me a total of 654. And then I divide this number by the number of habits. That's how you calculate averages. And so 654 divided by 10 gives me a 65.4% habit score for February, compared to January's 56.11% score. So I have improved about 10% in meeting my habit goals by being more aligned and intentional this month. Who would have thought? Me? I did not think so. Like I said, I felt like this month was bad, but it looks like numerically I was able to show up for myself in all the ways that mattered. So these numbers make me happy, and I'm excited to see how much more I can improve them in March. Now that we've done the quantitative reflections on how I showed up and looking at those numbers mathematically, we can talk about the qualitative review of February. So how did the month feel? Which I've alluded to several times already. But I want to start with positive feelings from the month and then the negative feelings. And I feel like my accomplishments have already been listed through my goals. So if you are doing this reflection practice for every month, I look at my accomplishments, my positives, my negatives, my takeaways. So some positives for February. I went to so many BGSO events and lab related events. I work at a lab and we have events sometimes, and I actually went to everything that I saw an ad for. I showed up. There was a game night, I went. There was a paint and sip, I went. There was a movie night, I went. There was like a social this week, some amazing Thai food. Oh my gosh, I ate that up. And also just like I got someone's number. Nothing happened with it, but like it was just nice to be out flirting and talking to people and socializing. So very good for my mental health to like offset my internal turmoil. I didn't think just soaking in my home was good for me, so I did try to socialize, and those are some positive memories for sure. Developing those friendships and planning to go to more things in the coming months. I also got these new glasses. These are new. This is my previous pair, which seem relatively similar, but they are a smaller frame and they are more circular than square as these ones are. These ones have a bit more angle to them and they're bigger. So the other ones are like this big and these are bigger. And I'm really fucking with them. It's part of what inspired my most recent haircut. Another positive, but also a negative from this month. I initially cut my hair in curtain bangs where it was on the side of my face. It was not up here. But then once I got these glasses, it just felt more aligned to do the short micro-like bang for my hair. So that's another long-lasting memory from February. It's a positive because I really fuck with it. It was a negative because it came from this internal pressure to release something. I woke up one day with the grief overwhelming, like it had been building up behind my eyes. I wrote a whole essay describing this feeling behind my eyes for days, and just after, I don't know, over a week, I was just like, I need to do something. And ordinarily in a situation like that, I would get a tattoo. It's how I release pain, you know, positive self-harm, one could say. And I didn't have any money, and the only other alternative besides like something dangerous was cutting my hair. So I cut it several times in that day until I just felt the release I was looking for. And now I was moved to cut this, as I said, one, by the glasses, but also because I want to feel new. I want to look new and different, even if it is weird, because I feel different and I want that reflected in the way I look. Like now I can look back on this time in this next year or 2-3 years of my life as my bang era, as the internet calls it, to have as a memory of this time of transformation and dealing with grief, versus like how it was maybe 2 weeks ago where it just didn't feel different enough, even though it was cathartic. So I had 2 haircutting sessions in February that are memorable and permanent for me now. Going back to the positives, I went to my very first WPP Galentine's event hosted by Tiana, one of our members, one of the OG members for real, and it was excellent. It was awesome. It was such a fun conversation and a couple hours of a good time. And actually what motivated the tattoo I'm getting next, I will be vlogging it, so I'm not going to spoil it for you. But such an awesome time, positive memory. The first annual WPP Galentine's. We had our first annual yearly party in December, so we're just building up some new events and traditions in the club, and it makes me so happy. My ultimate goal with it right now, it's a digital online group. Some people have met up one-on-one because they live in the same city, but ultimately I'm aiming to get sponsors or get rich enough to be able to host everyone for 1 week in like an Airbnb or something with an itinerary and schedule together to just be in each other's company, being productive and loving, and I'm very excited to work towards that goal. So 2 other positives would have to be I have a new book idea. I was inspired by all of my events I've been going to this week, and I don't want to give it away now because I'm going to talk about it in a writing blog. But yeah, I have a new short story idea, was how it was born. But as I was thinking it out, I was like, this is enough for a book, because I had to look up then what a short story entails, and I was like, oh, what I want to write is a lot longer than a short story, but I could take a piece of it as a short story and then turn it into a novel later. And it's also a very Black themed book centered on Black Americans and Black immigrants, and I think it could be multiple POV. It's going to be a dark academia novel based on some of my experiences in grad school and undergrad, just like in the academic setting. So very excited about that. I have it all written down in my Notion at least, so I can reference it whenever I have made enough progress on my current novel to think more deeply about it. I'm not going to work on multiple because that will just turn into procrastination, productive procrastination, but procrastination nonetheless. And then one more positive memory would have to be some, I feel like, Saturn return reflections that people call them. I'm 29. I turned 30 officially in September of 2026. And I have been thinking a lot about like my job contract ends this summer and the jobs I'm looking for and the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. And both of those revealed to me what I'm willing to prioritize in either case. Like, regardless of the best or worst case, I still want to make time for my health, for my writing, for my reading, for my community. And because of that, I realized that I don't want to center my career anymore on my channel. Like, I definitely am still Dr. Quinn. I've earned that title. I am still a systems expert. I have that credential and expertise. And so that does inform the way I move in the world. I move through the world with the Dynamical Systems framework with a mathematical level of critical thinking. So I am still, Dr. Quinn, but I thought I was gonna just be vlogging my journey as like a mathematician, like what's it like to be in the academy type shit. But more so, I'm like, I could be out of the academy in like a couple months, or I could stay, I have no idea. But regardless, what I do want to journey in and document along the way is how I'm feeling. How am I balancing my goals with my self-care? How am I engaging in my community? What am I thinking about? What am I consuming? Who am I talking to? Those are the things I want to prioritize. Making my life feel good and making intentional choices is way more important to me than just being a mathematician. And so it's not like I'm discarding anything that I have built up, but just recentering what I'm willing to talk about around, So those reflections were very important to me because even if my worst case scenario where I have to like go home or something, I still have time for what makes me full of passion and purpose. And if I get my dream job with 100K and in this place, I still want to make time for my writing and my groups and my passion. And so it's like, oh, I am more than just my job. I already knew that, but I also want it to be reflected in my media online. So those are the positives. Wow, so many. Negatives was cutting the hair. Also, I mentioned it's the anniversary of my niece's death. It's kind of a month-long grieving affair because she died. She was murdered on February 17th, 2025, and her funeral was March 12th, 2025. I don't remember the funeral date exactly, but I remember it being a few days before her birthday. She was buried a few days before her birthday. Her birthday is March 14th, so her 20th birthday will be in March. Oh, I'm not going to cry. I might. It's just a very emotional time thinking about all the things that she was just getting started with. She was 18 years old when she was murdered, and so that was her 19th birthday last year. This would be her 20th, and just every year without her, I can't imagine it being any easier. So this past month, I have been eating my feelings as I have been known to do in my family. A big part of my journey on this channel at first was about I lost all this weight. I lost 50 pounds. And the reason I had to lose 50 pounds is because of eating emotionally and habitually. Like, I could be bored as fuck in eating, or I could be sad as fuck in eating. And I kind of reverted back to that this month, where it's like I just could not control myself with the snacks, with the hot chips and the honey buns. And as I'm saying this now, it sounds so attractive with these tears in my eyes. But yeah, that's been February. The negative has been this uncontrollable giving into my urges. But honestly, in a way that is like, I guess low-key intentional. Like, I am aware that this is what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. And I also know that I am capable of stopping. And so I just let myself do it. Like, I feel like no feeling is totally permanent. They move through you, in and out of you. And so if I need this right now, this is what I need right now. And later I will do better or different. And that's kind of how I've been moving. But it's a negative memory because Man, I was so snatched. I weigh myself weekly, and I am still trying to sculpt my body, even though I don't talk about that publicly anymore. But this is to say, I was very close to my fitness goal at the top of this month, and I am no longer where I was at the top of the month. And so I gotta kind of redo the past couple months of progress just from the overindulgence. But also, as I said, it might continue into March. So just dealing with the ebbs and flows of life. Kind of is what it is there. And then the last negative would also be like from all this crying and eating and stuff, and like late nights, even though I'm getting 7 hours of sleep, I may not be going to bed till 12 or 1. I've had a lot of headaches, and also because I wasn't wearing my glasses, a lot of headaches and stuff like that from just a multitude of things. So February was, at least in my head, bad, but then looking at the numbers, it was good, and all those positives, it may have been good. So it's just always interesting to actually sit and think about these things intentionally, because going to using only one particular thing as a metric cannot be enough for the full picture. Great habits, emotionally volatile, new experiences. All of that is true. None of that makes the month good or bad, but it was hella enlightening, you know? And that's all I can really ask for as someone trying to know myself and move with intention and integrity. All right, so we've done steps 1 and 2 of reviewing the month through the numbers and reflecting on the month and how it felt. Now it's time to realign with my big picture goals, what I said I wanted to do in 2026, and set my new goals for March to align with those. So let's get into the beginning of the March reset. So my March goals are set up basically the same way as my February goals in my Notion tracker. So I am going to just screenshot instead of screen record. So they're in the same sections as before with relatively the same goals, because as I said, and maybe I should also talk about one of my essays, the feedback loop essay and setting sustainable goals essay, that it's okay to have goals repeat month to month. Each month does not have to be a whole new personality or anything. In fact, it's really hard to measure improvement on a particular thing if you're always changing it up. That's why in the gym, people suggest that you do a particular set of workouts and do that for 8 to 12 weeks so that you can see yourself get better at a particular thing before moving on to something else. And I think the same applies for goals. Like, I don't need to change out my step goal every month, because can I meet the standard first before moving it to something else? You know, it's kind of how I approach goal setting. And it also creates a baseline, a foundation to move from. But if you ain't never gotten steady long enough, laid enough bricks down, you don't have a foundation. So my goals will and do look the same, look the same month to month, and I believe that's fine. And it's exactly what I advise to anyone. Unless you have a particular project or something that comes up each month or something, that can always be a new goal. But as far as like lifestyle habits, I would hope that we're aiming for consistency over long bouts of time and not just sprints of habits. I'm hoping. So, at least not I. So, for fitness, they're the same as before. Daily steps, 11,000 average. Working out 5 days a week. 7 hours of sleep average, so nightly. And doing a weekly long walk. I am adding something new to this foundation. Every month I've been doing a monthly challenge. January, the challenge was, oh my gosh, what was it in January? I wrote them all out at the beginning of my bullet journal. So January, 11,000 steps was the challenge. In February, the cursive journaling was the challenge. In March, the daily challenge is yoga. So a yoga video every single day. And there's no time limit on this. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 30 minutes. I want to do yoga every day. So I've actually already predetermined most of these. And so yeah, I had to add yoga to the fitness goals because that's where it belongs. In April, it's 3 miles every day. In May, it's meditation every day. In June, it's doing rucking or weighted walks. So like, I thought about what I'm trying to do, and I gave every month a challenge. So yoga is my March challenge. Excited to try that for my fitness goals. And then the next category are my writing author related goals. So for this month, I still want to do my weekly creative exercise. And this is also going to be the end of Q1. And my Q1 goal that I set when I got my novel idea was to draft a chapter a month this first quarter. Establish the full World Bible. Establish all the characters. Draft chapters 1, 2, 3. And so by the end of March, I want chapters 1 through 3 written. As of now, chapter 2 is written. Chapter 3 is like 60% done. And chapter 1 is 60% done. So by the end of this month, I want all 3 finished. I also, goal is to memorize a poem. I bought a bunch of poetry books that I read before writing sometimes, but also I want to memorize poems again. In my youth, we would have to do this all the time in my classes and at my church, and I just think it's a valuable skill to test, like memory, and also just, I am obsessed with Sterling K. Brown and Quinta Brunson ever since deciding to own my creativity outside of YouTube. And there was one interview in particular where Sterling was requested to cite a poem he remembered, and he cited like a Shakespeare poem. And I was like, oh my gosh, first of all, that was hot. I know he's married. That don't mean it's not hot. And I was just inspired, like, man, I remember when I used to be on that type of time where I acted for a little bit in my youth as well. But I would like to be able to just someone say cite a poem and I can pull something out my ass, like, because I know it that well. And so a 2026 goal of mine is to memorize at least 1 poem a quarter, and March will end the quarter, so now's the time to do that. All right, as a mathematician, my goals this month are, I want to get 3 job interviews. 1 is scheduled for this upcoming week that you're watching this. So if you could comment or like or whatever for some positive energy on this job interview, that would be great. It would be great. Then I'm manifesting 2 more from the applications I've sent in that I will hear back about 2 other interviews for March. Yes, I am also going to network just as I did in my graduate education. If you watched my From PhD to Career video, I believe it's titled, I talked about how I was emailing every single person I've met since grad school, and that was actually how I found this job. And so I will be doing that again. I have an even longer network now, and so I will be sending throughout March every single day, hopefully, hey, remember me? We met at XYZ workshop conference, blah blah blah. This is what I have done since we last spoke. I am currently looking for positions such as Y. Would you have time to talk with me about any opportunities you may have or are aware of, or advice you may have? If so, please reply to let me know. Type shit is what I'll be sending out to everyone I've ever met professionally in March. Great. And then as far as my projects that I'm working on, as I said, I mentioned before that I wrote a list to have something done by April 15th, and so I have a kind of list of everything that has to be done in March. So maybe if you're also a mathematician, some of these words will be familiar to you. I'm working on a model. I need to update my fitting of the model to the new data that I've gotten for one particular section. I also then need to update my ranking. I've previously been doing PRCC, partial rate correlation coefficient analysis, to determine which parameters in the model are making the biggest difference in the outcome. And I have double checked my monotonous speed plots recently, and they're not giving. And I was recommended to do either Morrison or Sobel by, like, not my boss, but like someone else, a person, as a better ranking tool. And I'm actually not very familiar with Sobel outside of like people mentioning it briefly. So I want to switch to Sobel over PRCC and use that to not only rank the general model that has all the components, but I'm also using strong inference, which means that instead of just creating one model and saying this is definitely what's happening, we've taken that model, I have taken that model and turned it into variants, where I've changed one little thing from each to see or represent a different hypothesis of what could be going on. And so with that, I want to also rank each of those variants, because something that is number 1 as influential in the full model may not even exist in the third variant. So in that case, what is most important here? And because either one of these could turn out to be the top contender aligned with the data, so I want to rank all of them, and then I also need to fit all of them to the data, and then I will have everything I need to. I also need to do my stability analysis, and something that goes with that is bifurcation analysis. I guess what I want to say is steady state analysis, which comes with bifurcation stability analysis. Okay, so yeah, lots to do actually for the project, and once that's done, I can then update the paper. The paper is written for the previous version, so once I have everything updated, I can just change out pictures, update the equations. I say just, like, it's easy, but it is easier than starting from scratch. So yeah, lots to do with the project, lots to do with getting a job. That's my scientific related goals for March. I also have the same goals as far as my media creation on all my platforms. I want to post 1 video a week on YouTube, which means for me recording once a week, editing every Saturday. That's basically my system. Every single week for either a day or a week, I record something, and then on Saturday and Sunday, I split up my editing time. And if I don't edit on the weekends, that's why you'll see a video on like a Thursday or Friday. If you see a video on a Monday, I edited it on the weekend like I was supposed to. but this is 3 p.m. and I still have to go to the gym. So me editing today is unlikely, but it could happen. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen on Tuesday. Who knows? Most likely not this Tuesday because I have an interview. Anyway, that is the point. I want to post every week on YouTube, every week on Substack. As for my reading and intellectual goals, I'm feeling very ambitious this month because I really enjoy the 10,000 Joys of January, and I recently picked up quite a few writing craft books along with a lot of books by Black authors, which I don't think you can even see there behind me. I bought some Octavia Butler, some N.K. Jemisin, some, I'm not gonna list them out right now, but I bought a lot of books and I already have the books I wanted to read before, and now I have more I want to read. So that's just going to be the theme for the rest of the year and forever. I am trying to actually decrease my screen time even more than I've already told you I have, so that I can read more. And so this looks like watching less TV and Patreon and reading more. So my March goals are to finish this book, The Library of the Unwritten, hopefully within the next week, because I desperately want to read the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. This is a 500 pager, all right, but I've heard nothing but excellent things from people I've told about me having it, and also from the reviews online. Like, I've not heard anything negative about this book. It's almost at 5 stars, and that it's relevant in the kind of world building I want to do. So I'm really excited to get into this, and I also really want to try her writing routine. So I'm like, my locked sister, I really want to try her writing routine, and I would like to be at least familiar with her work before I dive into it. So yeah, those are major goals for me. I really want to get into this book. I doubt I'd be able to finish these 500 pages in March since I'm still reading another book, and I am not one. Tell me, are you one of the kind of people that can like be reading this and then start reading this and then pick this back up and then you're like, are you one of those? Because I am not. I need to finish this before I even open page 1. I cannot bounce between books like I can shows. It's very difficult for me. So these are my picks for my fiction reads for March, and then for my nonfiction, if I can, I really want to start bird by bird of all of the craft books that I have made, and I guess you won't see the haul of them until like 2 or 3 weeks from now, but I did a haul of all the craft books I bought, and this is the first that I want to read, and it's the first one I bought actually, and I again have heard nothing but stellar things, and even Jasmine's have commented about loving this book. So I really want to read this as well. I once upon a time said I wanted to read I wanted to read a fiction and nonfiction book a month. That was my goal before, and I did not reach it. And so then I was like, let me just read 1 book a month, let that be the goal. And I still didn't reach that. And so this year I'm just kind of revisiting that goal and not holding myself too strongly to it. That's why I'm only setting the official goal as finishing this and starting this. When I finish it, I'm in no rush. When I finish this, I'm in no rush. It's just about getting to them, prioritizing them, setting aside time to read every day. And now that I am tracking reading at least 20 minutes a day, I am optimistic in my ability to reach these goals. Feeling optimistic. The remaining categories of my goals are the finance, community, and personal development. So personally, I want to continue writing some kind of way, at least 30 minutes a day. As far as my community, I will always host my book club meeting once a month, the very last Saturday of the month, and also WPP every Sunday during our active cohorts. And then I have my finance goals that I've yet to reach of saving some money and paying down my credit card without using it. I want to just clarify, I have been paying on my credit card to the benefit of my credit score, so I want to keep that good, but also I didn't have to use it, girl, and that is what is keeping it from like being something I'm really reaching or checking off. Like, I want there to be a higher amount paid off of my total balance than I have spent, and that is yet to happen. So that's something to again try for in March. We'll see how it goes. So those are all of my March goals. I am feeling very optimistic, and after just the emotional turbulence of February, I'm really hoping that I can continue with this flow of energy for March and accomplish more, even though I think I did well this month. But yeah, at the very least, maintain this level of engagement with my writing and my reading and my community. Now we can get into step 4, which is to reset the calendar and things, which means looking at my Notion and making sure my content calendar is aligned with my schedule and my priorities, and making sure my bullet journal is set up to accommodate those as well. So yeah, let's get into step 4 of 5, the reset. Let's get on the Notion on the computer. All right, I have my Notion pulled up and I've moved to my desk chair. And since you'll see the vlogs from the month after this, I should introduce her. I got a new desk chair. It is a, I believe I typed in like modern ergonomic desk chair, and I chose this color because it goes with like the blanket you can see back there and just the color scheme I kind of have going on. I love brown. So this is my official desk chair going forward, and it was a treat to myself to celebrate being a writer, being at my desk at late at night. Often these days I was feeling a bit out of it in my high chair that I is supposed to be just for my eating bar, essentially. I don't know what it's called, and I wanted a real chair so that I could get myself into it, and like my legs are up and everything. I'm sitting crisscross applesauce right now, so I love this chair. So say hello to her, okay? But I have the Notion YouTube content calendar pulled up. Let's go through what I am publishing, which is mostly already been filmed, and then what I am recording in the month of March. All right, so I have my content calendar up. On the left hand side here, I have my publishing view, and on the right hand side is my filming calendar. I can always edit this to also be the filming calendar or filming view by thumbnails, but this is my preferred way to look at it. That way I know what thumbnails are about to be added to my YouTube channel super quickly, and then also what I will be filming in the coming weeks. So as far as what is going to be published this month, it's going to start with my March reset that you're currently watching. It clearly has a different thumbnail than what you probably are seeing, but I always like to at least set thumbnails way in advance. Like at the top of the month, I will make the thumbnails for everything I'm recording that month if I can, with the photos I already have. I have a folder on my phone titled thumbnail pics, and it's just photos that I think are aesthetic enough to serve as thumbnail photos, or relevant enough to what I talk about to be thumbnail photos, versus like regular pictures that are just like selfies that I most likely wouldn't put in a thumbnail. So I use those to pre-make them, and then if I need to, like I will with this, or probably already have, I will edit it with day of photos, screenshots from the video, whatever. But I like to have something in mind, so when I'm filming I know what vibe I'm trying to match to. So yeah, my February reset is first, and then I have recorded my morning routine as it currently exists. It might even be different already from what it was in this video, but it does have all of my current essentials as far as like writing, reading, working out in the morning, and some updates with those things in that video. And then these have already been filmed, and then I'll be posting a writing update. So writing draft 1, some updates to this novel. I kind of alluded to them in this video, but I had a lot of realizations through reading this month on what I wanted to be inspire my novel, and I had to restart some things. I made a plot grid. I talked through a whole thing, and I told you I went to a movie night. I saw a soundtrack to a coup d'etat, and when I came home I ranted for like 20 minutes about how amazing that film is, and that rant will be in that video. So I foresee it being like over an hour long, but which my videos aren't. I keep trying to be one of those people. I see people that are growing faster than me that make similar content just make shorter videos, but I just refuse to give in to the short form of it all. Even if it makes me more concise or palatable, I have a lot to say, and I would rather have that, and I have the chapters if I want to revisit my videos to see certain things. But yeah, I value the length, so it's probably going to be really long. And then also in March, we'll be seeing my evening routine. I recently rewritten it after some conversations at work about the importance of triggering things with rewards, or at least pairing difficult things with rewarding things. I think part of why I've been avoiding my nighttime routine is because I've had no incentive to start it. Like, it's like, why would I stop doing what I'm doing to do all of that administrative shit? So I've remade the order to be a bit more, oh, something fun to end my day with, let's do it, is the approach I'm taking. And so this one I'm actually filming this month, but it will be posted also at the end of March. And then since March, I think it's 5 weeks, right? Yeah, there'll be one more Monday, and it'll be a video talking about my new habits. I alluded earlier that I changed my habits one last time, I'm hoping, to track on my weekly report card, and I want to talk through in a video what those are, why those are, how I'm planning to incorporate them in my day-to-day, and some identity-based affirmations I've assigned to each habit to show its importance. I got a 91 this week with these habits, and I'm filming this video next week, so I'm hoping I will have another 91% or above to talk about why I want these to stick for me throughout this year, and what I hope the outcome of these things will be from building these as like part of my way of living. So that's everything that's going to come out this month, and then there will be the next reset video, but that reset video will of course be like April, what, 6th? Okay, it was like the first Monday in April, and it's going to be a Q2 reset, so it won't just be going over March, it'll also be looking at the summation of my behavior from January, February, and March to see how Q1 went, so I can shape Q2 with that in mind. So those are the next 6 videos to anticipate on this channel, and I hope you're getting the vibe that it's way less about my career or, you know, what it's like to be an academic, and more so just about things that make me feel good, support my passions and my goals, my writing, my reading, my community, my routines. Like, it's still very systems based, still intentional choices, still tracking and things like that. Like, the content is more or less the same, it's just framed in a different way. So I'm very excited about that. And then we have my filming calendar, what I plan to film this month, what is feeling aligned with where I am in my life. So I have a video titled Pushing Through the Hard, Knowing It Gets Easier, and that's going to be my evening routine, because in there I want to talk about just kind of what I've touched on a little bit in this video about February and things that I am trying to recover from, and how I want my evening routine to support that. And I'm still actually even thinking of maybe changing the title, but that's the video I'm recording next, is my evening routine. And then I'm recording a day in the life to show the habits that I'm trying to do every single day. And so maybe I should start the night before, or maybe I can just end with my night routine to like show the 7-hour sleep. But just talking through what's important to me, or maybe just going through my sleep tracking data. Either way, it's going to be a day talking about my habits. And I've also recently decided to switch from weekly style vlogs to more day in the life vlogs, because I've been rewatching my own videos. It's part of the reason I record them. And my day in the life vlogs are just as long as my weekly vlogs, and they're easier to edit. Like, my day in the life vlogs allow me to talk more and capture more, and that allows them to be just as 45 minutes or longer as my week in the life, but they're much easier to edit in like one setting versus like hella talking clips from throughout the week. So I'm going to prioritize for this next quarter only recording day in the lives, but still having that like talking bit so that they don't lose their length. And it just is easier on my editing schedule and my recording schedule, and like keeping track of everything. So that's going to be this upcoming week. I also want to record a video talking about understanding that your capacity charts. I need to add that to here. Let's add that to the title. So this video is basically about capacity charts, and I hosted a workshop at the top of the year on setting sustainable goals where I talked about that, where it's a follow-up to the habit video, where habits are able to be sustained when you let them be flexible and you let your participation in them be flexible, instead of it being an all or nothing thing, like, oh man, I didn't do it, so I'm just gonna give up on it. Like, there's that meme where you drop a little water and so then you like pour the whole cup out. Like, don't do that stupid shit. And it's kind of a video about that. Like, remind yourself that yes, life gets hard, but you're able to adapt to that. It's no problem. Just think about that ahead of time and let it be something you let be part of the routine, be part of the attractiveness of your rituals. So excited about that one. And then I have a video that's, I guess, a bit more productivity based. Those are going to be my Scholar Diaries videos, titled Productivity Doesn't Have to Equal Isolation. Inspired by a podcast episode I watched recently, where people hate optimization online. They hate the word optimization. Optimization seems to be associated with capitalism and all things negative. Like, I hate self-optimization. Why can't you just be? And it's like, you can just be. That also doesn't negate the fact that you have constraints in your life. There are time constraints in your life. There's money constraints. There's priority constraints. And those things require optimization. That is a mathematical term. When you have limits on your life of what is possible, you have to optimize and prioritize your time. How you do that, again, is also based on your personal desires. It does not have to mean making money. But the video was demonizing productivity and optimization, and also saying that people are lonelier because they're productive. Being productive means going to bed early and you have no friends and da-da-da. And I just don't agree with that, obviously. And it's going to be videos sharing how I'm able to be what I believe is productive and aligned with my goals, but also I have a community that I've created. I engage with my community locally. I have friends, mostly, I believe. And so it's productivity does not have to mean that you're in a bubble and you don't care about connecting with others, but it does mean that you are intentional about the way you move. So kind of gave that away there, but that's the video. And it'll just be a day in the life. And then also I want to record an author video, because why not, where I challenge myself. Hopefully by this time of the month I will be through chapter 3 of my novel, and I want to write 5K words in 3 days. So Friday through Sunday or Saturday through Monday, haven't decided yet. And I have already made the thumbnail though. I'm very excited about it. I just like those writing challenge videos, and it'll be my first time doing anything based around word count. So far I've just been going with chapters and world building, but I would like to get a certain amount of words written just to push me to write for long bouts of time past 30 minutes. That's the real challenge there. So maybe this will be Friday to Sunday, and I can move this to Monday. Yeah. And then the last video I'll record this month is the quarter to reset. So that is everything I will be filming and posting in March. I'm going to end the video with setting up my March bullet journal, or I may just skip it this month because I may not have time. But if I skip it, I am grateful that we have set this month together. I want you to leave some of your March goals in the comments below, and I hope I see you in my next video. Until then, make good choices. Bye, friend.